Beep, beep, beep. No, this is not an accident. Imagine that sound in your ear 8 hours a day, Monday through Friday. That was my life. That was the sound of the phone ringing because I was a receptionist. My job was to buzz people in the door because it was locked, to let them in, get their driver's license, give them their name badge. And all the while, every 15 seconds, it would be beep, KB Pharmaceutical, one moment, beep, KB Pharmaceutical, one moment, because people knew when they called this company, they literally would just say a name. They would say the person's name, and I would immediately look it up on the switchboard, plug in the extension, and then send them over to the call. Every day, 5 days a week. Beep, beep. Awful, awful. Welcome to the Blow Your Mind podcast. If you're trying to figure out who you are, where you're headed, or how to trust yourself in the middle of it all, this show is for you. I'm Erika. I grew up in a trailer park on food stamps, and I went on to build a multi-8-figure award-winning company without a safety net and without pretending it was easy. I'm now a CEO, a best-selling author, and a philanthropist. And what I've learned is this: real confidence isn't a feeling. It's self-trust built through evidence. This is a place for real conversations. You'll hear from me and occasionally my husband, Chris, as we talk honestly about real life and the standards and decisions that separate talk from results. Let's blow your mind. You guys, I want to welcome you today to the Blow Your Mind podcast, where we're going to talk about how you don't wait for permission, how you do the things that are going to get you to where you want to go, and how you just have to check your ego at the door and say, this is a step in my path. This is a moment in time. I'm going to learn so much while I'm doing whatever it is that you are doing or working on or getting through. And it's going to teach you a lot. And it's going to be stories that you're going to be able to share later and laugh about and wonder, how did you get through that time in your life? Because at the time I was going to night school. I had been working at hotels before that. Right when I graduated high school, I moved to St. Louis, the big city of St. Louis. And I started working in hotels at the time. I was a front desk agent, and then I got promoted to like supervisor and then a night manager. And one day we'll do a whole episode on like what it was like to work in hotels. But after a couple of years, my puppies are up here. But after a couple of years of working at the hotel, I just realized like I really needed to have my degree. I wanted to do something different. I didn't want to be working 24 hours a day. And when I got promoted to front desk manager, I got assigned the Nextel. And that's a whole nother sound, this doo-doo-doo. And like all of a sudden you'd have like housekeeping calling you, or like doo-doo-doo, and it's the bellman, and like they're picking up at the airport, or somebody's called in sick, or we need to figure out how we're going to clean these rooms because we're sold out. And I just knew, I was like, oh my God, as proud as I was of myself that when I was 20 years old and I got promoted to that night manager, and I was making $30,000 a year, but it was a salary. Like I was finally making a salary versus like punching the clock and clocking in and out. I just knew, I was like, man, like I can never turn off. Like this is 24 hours a day. And I was responsible. It would be 10 o'clock at night. And so usually hotel shifts are like 3 to 11, 11 to 7, and 7 to 3. And so 10 o'clock at night, you'd get that on the nightstand. And it's like, Erika, come in. And it'd be like, Joe just called off from the night shift. And at our hotel, we were picking up at the airport every 30 minutes, like guests that were coming in for a free shuttle. And so here I was, like getting up, putting on the uniform, going in because there was nobody else to call. And I have a Class E driver's license from this role. And I was meeting people in the shuttle, like packing them in and driving them to the hotel. And then we were checking them into their rooms. And so just having the realization of like, how can I make my life different? How can I have a different role? When I was a kid, I used to watch TV shows and I would see all of the people in these really important buildings and important meetings. And there was like glass everywhere, and they were in suits and they had these briefcases. And I was like, how do I get that job? Like, how do I get to work there? And so I started to like Google and think about things. And to do the types of roles that I wanted to do, you needed to have a degree. So I was going to have to go back to college. And I know college isn't for everyone. And for me, it wasn't the experience that you get where it's like the 4-year university and you get to be in like a sorority and make relationships that'll be with you for the rest of your life and do all of the things. It was night school because I still did have to have a job. I had to work. I had to pay my bills. It was my husband and I, my high school sweetheart, and he went to go work in an electronics store, and I had chosen hotels. And so I had just said, like, I'm gonna get my degree. I'm gonna go to night school. And for him, it wasn't the choice he wanted to make, and that was totally okay. Like, I knew I wanted this for me, but I had to have a different job. Like, I couldn't be working at the hotel, working 24 hours a day. And so I started to look online on like a job search page, and I saw this position for a receptionist. And like at the time, I was just like, okay, like, listen, this is just a stepping stone. It is going to let me pay my bills, and I'm going to get to go to work. And how cool is that? Like, it's Monday through Friday. I'm going to be in that building I dreamed of being at, even if I was just like the gatekeeper at the front door, but I was going to be around all of those people. And there was no taking it home. Like at 5 o'clock, I was clocking out, and that beeping sound, like, I will say, you guys, like that, like, I still have nightmares sometimes. Just that sound in my head from all day long. I mean, hundreds of calls. It was truly like every 10 to 15 seconds that beep would go off. So many phone calls. It was crazy. But I got to go to night school, and I went to work Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. And then I went to night school. I did a full load because I wanted to get through it as fast as possible. And I was like, I'm going to go into a season that it's going to be really hard, but it's going to pay off at the end. And I just need that bachelor's degree. And so I found a program that I could go to, and I was going to night school 3 nights a week from 6 to 10 p.m. So it was really long days because that's 3 nights a week. Like, that's a long time to be in class after a whole day of working and then trying to be awake and trying to like learn all of the things. But I was in it with everybody else who was in night school. And then the other nights of the week, you're actually doing the homework that they're assigning to you, writing the papers, making the presentations. Like, weekends were all full and doing it. But that period of time, like, people are always so shocked by like my efficiency, like how fast I am on the computer, I'm always like, how do I optimize the situation? How do I do the most things at one time? And it's because during that period of my life, I didn't have a lot of time. Like, whether I was buzzing people in, trying to answer the phone, connecting people over, doing the badge thing, and then trying to get my school, I got to do my homework sometimes during the day. If I could focus long enough, it was just like the easier things. But it was just a lot happening for like a long period of time. But I knew I was working towards something, and there's going to be moments in all of our lives where we go and say, like, I'm going to be the arrow where you have to pull the arrow back in order to like let it go and like slingshot forward. And that is what that period of time did for me. Like, yes, I was a receptionist, and it wasn't like the coolest job in the world. And the buzzing almost drove me crazy. And it was really hard to go to school and to be awake and to do the homework. But even in that time, like, humans are so resilient. Like, I really realized how much capacity I had at the time, because while I was still trying to answer the phone and do all the things and do my homework, like, I was still asking for more things. I sat by the HR department, and I was like, is there anything I could do for you guys? Could I be stamping things? Could I be filing something? Could I be organizing something? Like, I wanted the time to go by. I wanted to be learning new things. I wanted to meet other people. I wanted to add value. And so they gave me like random little projects. I ended up doing like, the Biggest Loser was big at the time. And I ended up doing a whole company-wide Biggest Loser. It became like my goal that we had this like company newsletter, this like booklet that got printed every quarter. And I was like, I wonder how many times I can get in that book. Like, so people know my name and that they know I'm not just the receptionist, and like I can do cool things and I'm smart. And so I ran the Biggest Loser, and we had like 18 buildings at this company in St. Louis. We had like our warehouse, we had like the manufacturing, we had all of our business, we had clinical development, we had medical affairs building, we had the marketing building, and we did it across all the buildings. And I organized everyone, and I sent out emails like, okay, we're weighing in. I think that year, like, as a company, the people who participated, we lost like 760 pounds together. And like the company let us all come together and do a group photo. We got to order shirts. I made a case for like why we should order shirts and like, could I have a budget for it? And we got to take a group photo, and we made it into the newsletter. I remember organizing like a bowling league. I remember doing sand volleyball. We even did the Budweiser kickball league. And like where I found the time to do this, I don't like in your 20s, you're a different human. Like if I could only somehow get that energy I used to have and like inject it into my veins today. But it was cool because I was organizing, I was communicating, I had to still show up professionally for everyone. I had to convince the executive leadership to let me do these things. But I also got to meet people from very different backgrounds, like the engineering department head, the vice president of medical affairs, the marketing people. Like I just got to meet so many different people in a different way to create new connections, to get to know them as human beings, to ask them about their jobs, to learn what they were working on. And then I started to really realize like what marketing was all about and like what they did upstairs on the second floor and the cool projects that they got to work on. And I just told myself, like, I want to end up there. And I don't know how I'm going to do that. Like, I'm going to school right now, but they know me for the things that I organize at work, but they don't actually know that I am smart and like I could do this and like I could be really passionate about it. And so I decided to make up a fake project. I called it the POM, P-O-M, Peace of Mind. And the idea was, I'm at a pharmaceutical company, so I was like, it's going to be technology. And so the idea was, it was a little chip, kind of like the chips that you put in dogs, so if they get lost, you can scan them and find them. This POM would be something that would be inserted into your body, into your baby when they were born. And at the age of 18, just like dissolving stitches that are out when you have surgery, that somehow would magically dissolve 18 years later. But between baby and 18, you would always know where your child was, and it would provide parents with peace of mind. It's a little creepy. I mean, but honestly, like, I think I was ahead of my time because now we have like Life 360 and you can FaceTime your kids and they can't lie to you about where they are. But I thought it was like so innovative, so revolutionary. And I wrote up a whole like patient education brochure and I wrote all of the copy. This was before ChatGPT, AI. Like I literally am just like sitting there typing what I think it's going to be. We didn't have Canva. I'm using like Word and trying to like, if I put these boxes here and put these boxes here and I print this and then I triple fold it so that like this is the front. And then when you open it, this is what it's going to look like. I say all of this because it was so frustrating, but I just knew. I knew if I could just show it to somebody on the marketing team and be like, look, I came up with this project and like I have a patient education brochure so the patient will understand, like parents will understand why this is valuable. I also made like a journal ad, like this is what they would see in a magazine. And I had a headline and a subhead, and I didn't actually know like the words to like each of the components of this, and I've learned them later. But I had all of the pieces. I wanted them to see I could think differently, and I had an eye for placement, and I had an eye for like having the customer in mind and like what do they need to hear before they like make the decision to like say yes to this product that is also like super invasive and like putting something into your child. But I did it. I did my journal ad, I did my patient education brochure, and I even wrote out like what a potential commercial could look like. And I remember the day I worked my bravery up and I watched for Scott Gedicke to walk through those gold doors and buzz him in. And he's walking in his suit, and he was the VP of marketing. Everybody knew who he was in the whole company. He worked on the branded division, like all of the brands that like have like true like identity behind them, logos, like iconography, like all of the things. And so he's walking by, and he's always been so kind and like would wave and say hello and like treated me more than just like a receptionist, which that job was humbling because some people didn't. Like some people wouldn't even look me in the eye. Some people would be like, here, I'm here to see this person. And I'm like, okay, like no problem. I just need your driver's license. And it'd be like, you know who I am. I'm here every time. Like it was such a humbling job to have, but Scott never treated me that way. Like Scott always just like, hey, Erika, like keeping us safe, or like, thanks for saving me from the rain today. Cause like, if I don't see them, like you're just going to get soaked outside. But he walked in that day and I was like, hi, I was like, do you have a second? Like, can you come over? And he like came over, and I told him the lie. I was like, I'm in a marketing class, I'm going to night school, And like my whole grade depends on this project. It's the final one. And I had to make up a product and I had to make all of these marketing materials. And like I have it ready and I'm about to turn it in. And I just like wondered if you would just have like a minute to just like look at it and like give me some feedback. And then like I could turn it in and I'll let you know if I pass the class. And he's like, yeah, for sure. And I'm thinking he's going to like peek at it, be like, oh, you should move this over there. You should move over there. No, he took it from me and he's like, I'll have it back to you tomorrow. Like super serious. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. Okay. Thank you so much. I'm so excited. And then he just walks up the stairs and I'm like sweating bullets. I'm like, oh my God, like he's taking it with him. He's going to really look at it. Like, I hope I did a good job. What did I just do? But here we are. My mission had been accomplished that day. I had made sure that he got it and it was happening and like chips will fall where they will fall. The next day, he comes straight over to my desk when he gets buzzed in the door and he kneels down and I was like, oh God. And he pulls it out and there is just red everywhere. This man took the time and was like, I didn't like this headline because it's not clear here. I think you need to start out with like, what is the problem that you're actually trying to solve here before you tell me how it works? Think you then need to actually show me what it looks like. Nowhere in here do I see what the product actually looks like. And then who do they call if they have questions? Like real things, like real feedback. And I was like, okay, and I'm taking it all in. I'm taking my notes. I'm trying it. And then he's like, and then the journal ad, you get one shot to like show somebody when they're looking at a magazine. Think about where they're going to be. What is it exactly that you want to say to them? And I'm like, you're so right. Okay, And I will say that day, it was like, beep, beep was in my phone and like in my ear. And I was just trying to like take all of the feedback and like also like rush him off so I could like not get fired for not answering the phone, but also like hear what he was saying. And he's like, all right, like I want to see it before you submit it. So like make sure you send it to me and like we'll make sure that it's good to go before you actually submit it to your teacher. And he leaves. Oh my God. You guys, I had created for myself so much work that weekend, because I had already told him the lie was like it was really due soon. So like now that he wanted to see it before I turned it in, that weekend, I spent so much time like actually thinking about what he said, reorganizing my headlines, like racking my brain of like, what should this new thing say? What should this look like? And like trying to draw it out. I think I did like a floppy disk on the clip art and was like, this is what it looks like. Here's what it's, and then like sparkles around it or something. I don't even know what I did. I wish I still had it, honestly, but I did it and I brought it back on that Monday and he came over, he was expectant and ready to review it and he took it up with him. And then at the end of the day, he came back and he's like, I think it looks great. I think you should submit it. I think you're going to do a really good job and I think you're going to pass. And I just thanked him profusely for doing it. And like, I felt like I'd really accomplished something, even though like I didn't have a class to turn it into. There was no like grade. And I didn't know what I was going to tell him, right? I was just like in a week be like, I got an A, like, thank you so much. But I just knew he had seen what I could do. And he had seen that I could take feedback and that I could apply it and how I applied it, whether it was right or not right. He could see that I was really trying and it paid off for me. Like 2 weeks later, you guys, I kid you not, 2 weeks later, one of the marketing coordinators had put in her resignation. She was moving. And so she was taking a new job. And Scott comes downstairs and he's like, hey, we have an opening. It's an entry-level position. Like on the marketing team, I think you should apply for it. And I was like, really? And he's like, yeah. So like, I'll be rooting for you. So if you decide to apply, like, let me know and like, I'll be rooting for you. And then he just left. And like, I know that wouldn't have happened if I hadn't taken my shot, if I hadn't created an opportunity for myself. And that's what I want this episode to be about, is this idea that you don't wait for permission and that you're not waiting for somebody to come find you or know your worth or say like, you're amazing, you should do these other things. Like they can't know if they haven't seen. And if you haven't allowed them to see what's possible, they also aren't going to know what it is that you want if you never say what you want out loud, if you aren't saying what you're dreaming about, if you're not putting yourself out there and knowing that like it could go horribly bad. I mean, you could have thought it was really bad. And also to know that when you do it, you got to follow through. Because afterwards, right, that was a lot of effort. That was my whole weekend, like figuring all of that out. But wow, did it change the trajectory of my life, because I did apply for that job. And at the time, the woman who was in HR didn't think that I was qualified for it. And she's like, she doesn't even have her degree. It requires a bachelor's degree. She's in school going for it. She doesn't even have an associate's degree yet. She's like, this doesn't, like, she'll never make it past marketing coordinator until she gets that degree. So I don't even know why you're taking a shot. She doesn't have any experience doing these things. But he fought for me, and he escalated it to the next level above her. And somehow it was approved. And the day that I got to pack up my desk and like walk up those stairs, now I was walking up those stairs to go set up my new desk to be the marketing coordinator. It was so special. And it came with a whole new host of problems because I was still in school. And like now I had a job where I was traveling. Like I had to go to conferences. It was just a harder job. I didn't have the beeping in my ear, but I had real things that I was responsible for, real projects, real budgets, real like, that's when I met Fritz with Repco, like truly like in a working capacity, not just like when he like his team was dropping things off, which we have a whole, if you haven't listened to that episode, I got to interview him. I've known him for 20 years and he's known me since that very first job to like now owning my own company. It was such an awesome episode, but I got to really push myself in the things that I thought I was capable of doing. And again, still not waiting for permission. Like even in that job, I thought about like, okay, I want to end up being I wanted to be a product manager. So what do I need to do to get there? And I would spend time with the product management team. I would go to the meetings that I was in. We would have these weekly meetings called MLR, Medical Legal Regulatory Review, where all of the materials that are going to the FDA go in to get approved by and reviewed before they get sent to the FDA and before they get printed and everything. But I didn't just go into those meetings to just be a fly on the wall or to like sit and wonder what was going on. Like I was absorbing everything. I was a sponge. I started to pay attention to what was legal caring about, what did regulatory have to say, and I could watch like the really good product managers and then the ones that like stumbled along the way, or like it just seemed like every time their materials came through, it was a harder conversation. And during that time, like not only was I a sponge, but I sought out these experts. Like I remember like CG, Jen, like shout out to both of you who I know are listening and still cheer me on in our relationships that I cherish, our friendship like beyond and forever. They were my boss's like peer level set. But I would go to them and I would talk to Jen and be like, talk to me about like, I'm just learning about statistics. I don't understand confidence intervals. Like, but now we're talking about them at work. Like, I can't believe like the things that I'm learning in school, like we're actually doing, or like, tell me like, why did these certain endpoints matter in a clinical trial? Or why does it matter if we don't meet each endpoint at each phase? And then with CG, like help me understand why you like just shut certain things down. And even regulatory, when I went to them, like, some of the words that they used, I just didn't understand them, but I asked for these meetings and all of them, they share with me now, they're like, the fact that you took the time to like understand my point of view, to make it easier for all of us to review things, to be educated on what you were putting through the MLR process when it was finally my turn to like put my first project through, which is a whole nother story because they totally hazed me. And it's funny now, but it was not funny then. But they said like you were really trying. And then when I brought my first, like not the first one because that was a hazing thing, but after that, like I really tried to make it an easy review, and I took the things that they taught me and applied them to what I was doing. And even our advertising agencies would be like, I don't know how you know all of these things. And it's like, because I was taught, they showed me the things. I know the form, like the 2253 form that gets submitted to the FDA. Like, it was just so cool to be learning and to be exposed to new things. And I just couldn't believe this was my job. Like, I couldn't believe I got to do these things. And at the same time, like I was also the one responsible for like getting coffee for everybody. And I was responsible for like picking up stuff from the things, or I'd be there till like 10 o'clock at night on, thank God, like the nights that I wasn't going to night school. It was always Wednesdays were, the night before our weekly meeting. And so you have to print off all of the folders and then pass them all out and all of the references for all of the materials. And so it would just be like long days. But through it all, I just really believe like your mindset around knowing what the end in mind is, what you're trying to work towards, and why you're knowing your why of what you're doing matters. and knowing that no one is going to come to save you. And you also don't need to ask for permission. Like I hear people sometimes say like, well, I haven't got promoted yet, or I haven't, nobody's paying attention to the things that I'm doing. And it's like, well, what are you doing to advocate for yourself? Where are you raising your hand to do something above and beyond your job description? How are you adding value to the team that you are on, to whatever company that you are in? And that's truly just been the mindset I've had my whole life, regardless of the job that I was in. It was always, what else can I learn? And as a marketing coordinator, I always was like trying to ask for people, like, what are the things that you guys don't want to be doing? And like, I'll take it on, because then I became the person that people were like, oh, you can just rely on Erika, or like Erika will help you out. Or like I developed my own reputation within that company. And that reputation was so important to me because I wanted to be seen as a valuable member of the team. I wanted to belong and to have a seat at the table, at like the actual like conference room table, to be invited into the meetings. And by doing all of that, I truly, that's why I'm here today, because I developed some of the most incredible friendships. I've learned things that I, even now as the owner of Directory, when I talk to some of my clients and I know things and they're like, how do you know this stuff? Like normal marketers wouldn't know this, or there's like just no reason for you to understand like what the processes that we have to go through when I talk to somebody from compliance or regulatory or legal. And it's because I took the time to understand what was going on in all those other departments. So whenever I was late on something or the agency was late on something, I could really empathize and be like, I know you now have to do X, Y, Z. I'm really sorry about that. I am not going to let my problem be your like fire drill in the future. This really was just like, we're in this bind. Like, can we be a team and like work on this together? And I think that's what starts to build culture and team and like your own realization of like, you can change the course of your life when you decide that you want to change the course of your life. And like taking a moment to pause to say like, what is it that I want to do? What do I want to be doing? How do I go after those dreams? And how can I create my own opportunities? Because sometimes people will say like, you're really lucky. And somebody said this, but lucky is not like a magical thing that happens. I really believe in the saying that like luck is just when opportunity meets preparation. When you have prepared so much, you have put yourself out there, you've raised your hand, you've made your network, you have learned all of the things, and then this opportunity arises and you are ready to meet the moment. How awesome is it when you can actually do it, even if you're freaking scared and you're like, I don't know if I'm actually ready. Like you can, and you can meet the moment, and then the after is like just such a mind-blowing moment. And so that's my mind-blowing moment today, is that I want you to be thinking about where in your life can you create opportunities for yourself? And like, where are you not happy, or if you've let yourself fall into, because it's so easy to fall into like the victim mentality of just like, why does this keep happening to me? Or I don't know why I'm always stuck in this situation. Or like, is this going to be my life forever? I've been there. And like, only you can change that. And you actually really can. Like we live in a world where you can create your own opportunities. And like, I don't know, like I truly feel like I got to live the American dream, because it's not too often you can come from a trailer park on food stamps and like end up where I am. And it's because of my own like attitude and saying like, I'm not where I came from. My identity is that I'm a rock star. I'm a superstar. I'm the person you can depend on. I'm really smart. And like, I will outwork, even if I'm not smart on certain things. Like I will 10,000 hour rule. I'm going to keep working at it until I get it right. And I'm going to meet that deadline. We're going to figure this out. And like, that's really cool. It's a really cool thing that you have access to in your own life today, right now. So the mind blow moment is like, you can change your life at any moment. And the challenge I would have for you is to reflect on that and to think about it. Like, where is it in your life where you would like to see a change, or where you're like, I want to get my spark back, or I want to be working towards something. I want to have a goal. And you don't have to go all the way out to like a vision board, which I will say, like visually to see it, it's game changing. Like when your brain can see, I used to Photoshop myself onto the news, and it's because then it would allow my brain to see me on the news and be like, oh, that's a reality. That's like now. Like I think somebody said in like brain science, like your brain can only think like a couple years in advance. It doesn't think 10 years in advance. It doesn't think like, I'm messing this up, I know. But when you can see it and it believes that it is real, then every decision, even subconsciously, just goes towards what the reality is that is around you today. And so you can create new opportunities for yourself. You can put yourself out there, and that's not a Pollyanna rose-colored glasses view. I'm not saying it's going to be easy. I'm not saying it's not going to be scary. I'm not going to say that it's always going to work out for you, but it could. And like when it does, like what if it all does work out? How cool could that be? So that's my challenge for you today. Thank you so much for tuning in and just spending time with me. I'm having a really I've even in my own reflections of like life and my own stories, and I go back and think about them. And I remember how it felt to be 20 years old and to feel like the weight of the world and say like, am I really going to get out of like what I grew up in? Can I have a different life? And to be here and now, it's so cool to look back on that. And I just hope if you are in college that you're not feeling the weight of the world and that you are just taking in every experience and putting yourself in the craziest of situations, not bad ones, like, but like cool situations to like create a new life for yourself. Take the job that maybe doesn't come with like the biggest paycheck or doesn't come with the most glamorous title, or that like maybe you are picking up coffee, answering the phone, buzzing people in the doors. Like you never know where it could lead or what it could do for you, and the amazing stories you're going to have to tell you will have afterwards. But also if you're a professional, like in your everyday life, you're working for a company and you're just like, what's next for me? Like talk to your coworkers, look at other jobs, look at things that make you exciting, or look at your own role and think about how could you make it more fun? Because if you're going to spend so much time at work, like you might as well have fun doing it, and you don't have to do it alone. And it's actually a lot more fun when you don't. So I will leave you with that. And I'll see you next time. Thanks for listening to the Blow Your Mind podcast. If something you heard today stayed with you, that's your cue. Apply one idea. Keep one promise to yourself this week, because that's how you blow your mind. If this helped you build proof, shift your identity, or have an aha moment, share your receipts on Instagram and tag me at Erika_Sinner. Leave a review wherever you're listening so more people can find this work and blow their minds too. I'll see you next time.